Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 359. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hey.
How you holding up?
Uh-huh. Yep.
How you holding up?
Yep.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good. Sure.
Solid. This week on the show, we got two reviews lined up for you with Lorcan Finnegan's Vivarium and Bridget Savage Cole and Danielle Cruddy's Blow the Man Down. We'll also be going over some we're watching on the watch list and new releases on VOD and Blu-ray. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be super helpful. Housekeeping notes here. There is going to be a new Ryan Watches movie coming out this week. Stay tuned for that. We had him watch Dread from 2012. Back at it. I'm hoping that Ryan seems to be in better spirits and he seems to really want to be recording new episodes just because it gets him off of the COVID train. Mm-hmm. Constant, news watching and all of that. So I'm hoping that we'll get in a good rhythm with that in the coming weeks. That's really it for housekeeping. I think we can get into our first review. I have Vivarium up here. Do you want to do Vivarium?
Let's do it. Let's get that over with.
I can already sort of see that we're probably going to be.
Do you have any guess as to how I feel about Vivarium?
So I have a synopsis here. A young couple looking for the perfect home find themselves trapped in a mysterious labyrinth-like neighborhood of identical houses. This stars Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg. Now, I have a review for this up on the site, and I did talk about this a couple weeks ago on the show, and I said that I was not very impressed with it. So we'll start it with you, Kevin. I'm predicting that you're in the same boat as me with Vivarium.
For the most part, yeah. I mean, I don't 100% remember what you said. I do vaguely remember you saying that it's, one of these movies that has a pretty great premise, pretty good idea, but just doesn't really do anything with it, or just kind of runs out of steam with it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I 100% agree with, because I actually watched Vivarium over two days, right? Kind of got split in the middle. So the first day, which is pretty much the setup and them getting kind of left in this like neighborhood, and like the first couple of days or whatever, first couple of weeks, that type of thing. The baby shows up in the box or whatever, and then we stop. Now at that point in time, I was pretty into it. I'm like, I like what's going on here. I don't understand why people are so upset with this movie or so disappointed with this movie. It's pretty fantastic so far. I'm really looking forward to the next day when we get to finish, right? Which is a pretty good sign, right? I was really looking forward to seeing where Vivarium goes. The second day, which is when I found out where Vivarium goes, oh boy, it goes nowhere.
Yeah.
It just, it literally just becomes Jesse Eisenberg digging a hole.
Yep.
And Imogen Poots is flustered. Yep. And that's it. And there's that kid just screeching all the time. And I'm not 100% sure what any of this means, because there's the whole, the beginning of the movie starts off with the whole brood parasite in birds thing. And you're like, okay, well, if that's the whole opening, that must play into what's going on here. And it does. Obviously, there's a baby that's not theirs that they have to raise. Mm-hmm. But I have no idea, how that plays into, whatever they're trying to say about suburbia, or, owning a house. I don't, it doesn't make sense at all.
It feels like two very different themes that are at play here. Yeah. There's the whole bird thing is so on the nose and it's so surface level. They go so far as to showing us videos and telling us about, the birds and how they sneak into other nests and have other birds raise their young. So that's super on the nose, really, really out there for you to grasp. But then there's that underlying theme of suburban hell and the monotony of trying to achieve and live the American dream and all of this stuff that is there. Also, the two don't really
No, they don't
coalesce.
go together. No. No, they're like, I don't even know how the whole, I don't know, whatever the alien or whatever the hell the baby is, I don't know, like, how that brood parasite thing, like, it just, they don't go together. And it doesn't make any sense. Like, why are they there? Like, what are they? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, there's little explanation as to anything about how this all plays out. So like, with a lot of movies that have a compelling hook like this, you're waiting for the reveal to happen. You're waiting for like the twist to happen that says like, oh, they're on a spaceship the whole time. Like something that explains what's happening here, but there's like really there's nothing. There's no explanation, and I don't find the, like, first of all, you figure out early on that like this isn't, we're not dealing with humans here. It's a different kind of entity that we're dealing with, and that's it. Like that's the extent of the how the reveal or explanation happens. Like, okay,
And I think that's what throws it, because, like, again, I don't really understand, because of what happens at the end, which I did appreciate. It gets a little weird for like a minute, which got me kind of excited. It made me perk up in my seat again after, watching Eisenberg dig a hole for like an hour and a half. I was like, all right, here we go. Now things are going to get fucking nuts. But it only happens for a little bit. And then, to show this alien entity, like, what their end game is, just, I don't, like, that's it? That's all they're doing? That's all they do this for? Like, why do they do this?
right.
Why are they here?
It's
like, yeah, and I think that making them like an alien entity is like what kind of throws it, because it makes sense if like it was actual humans, and you're like, okay, what is the point of this? We're just making people to do, to serve essentially the economy, or consumerism or whatever. But to make them aliens kind of just undermines all of that and just makes it all superfluous. And it comes off as being really stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they were just like regular people, it could feed into the whole like monotony of life, the droll routine, the tedium of life, finding a house, owning a home, and just that sort of, boring having the kid and going to work, and just the standard stuff of the domesticity of life. And but it doesn't feed into that. At least I didn't feel like it was really feeding into that.
No.
And also, like, I just don't really understand or agree with the whole suburban hell motif. Like, I don't see what the big deal is. Like, if that's what they choose to do, like, why is that such a horrible thing,
Yeah. And especially like in this fashion, the way it's presented here, because it's so basic and so just like dumbed down to where it's literally Eisenberg finds purpose in digging a hole to absolutely nowhere, and of course Imogen Poots has to deal with everything, and then that's it. Like, that's it. There's nothing else. Absolutely nothing else whatsoever.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I didn't think that the character arcs were very interesting either. Like, I thought that Eisenberg's character was sort of an asshole from the first moment that we met him, so it wasn't like I was really rooting for him to begin with. I thought that he was kind of a dick from the start, and so I was like, I don't really care what is happening to his character. At least I have so little invested in this, but it's really unfortunate because the first act is quite good. Like, it's very intriguing. You want to know what's going on. I like the look of it, how all the houses are the exact same, and when they're driving around and trying to figure out how to get out of this, and they keep ending up back in the same house, and there were some interesting things going on. But yeah, it just doesn't amount to anything at all, which is really unfortunate.
It just seems like you wrote like the setup and then you just never got around to like an end. You know, like where does this progress to? It just stops. It just stops.
I think in my review I wrote that I think that this story would have been better suited for an episode of like The Twilight Zone or something, where it's shorter and you could have, made it more concise and presented it as an episode of a TV show where you still have those sort of underlying themes, but also tighten it up a bit and not present it as a feature length film. I just think it would have worked better as something like that. All right. Any closing thoughts on Vivarium?
No, not really. It's a huge disappointment though.
Yeah.
Such a weird experience to be so into it and so very excited to get back to it. And then when I finally did get back to it.
So I gave this a 5 out of 10 in my review, which after doing this review, I feel like it was maybe a little bit too generous, but what are you going to give it out of 10?
Oh, I give it like a 4.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, the production design's great.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like the look of it. So that is available now on VOD platforms, so you can check it out. Again, that's Vivarium. Let's move on and talk about Blow the Man Down. I have a synopsis here for this. Mary Beth and Priscilla Conley attempt to cover up a gruesome run-in with a dangerous man. To conceal their crime, the sisters must go deep into the criminal underbelly of their hometown, uncovering the town's darkest secrets. I have a review for this up on the site as well. I saw this a while ago at Tribeca, so we'll start this one with you too, Kevin. What were your initial thoughts on Blow the Man Down?
Ooh, initial thoughts are, unfortunately, like I don't have like a very distinct opinion either way. I did enjoy myself while I was watching it. There are a number of elements to this movie that make it stand out enough, I think, to warrant a look, for me to recommend it as like a light recommend. But a lot of it does feel very familiar, with the whole someone kind of accidentally gets killed. And of course, then they find some money. And then of course, someone's going to come back for that money. And then they got to figure it out. I feel like we've seen that movie God knows how many times. But like I said, there's enough here in terms of like the setting, the cast, some of the decisions being made, like the singing fisherman, which I thought was a really nice touch, and how they kind of implemented that throughout the movie, not just the opening. It kind of gives that a little bit more of a distinction. It kind of stands out a little bit. But at the same time, like the base of it, though, that storyline that's in Blow the Man Down is pretty well worn, I think. But I think they do a good enough job with it. It's just not enough for me to make it truly memorable. Enough that it sticks out, but not truly memorable.
Now, when I initially saw this at Tribeca, I really loved it. I thought it was really, really good. And rewatching it now, I pretty much have the same feelings about it. I agree with you that it is a narrative that we've seen many times over. I feel like the overall vibe of this movie has a little bit of Fargo in it. You have there's definitely a Fargo vibe coming out of this movie, but that didn't necessarily bring it down for me at all. Yes, you have them trying to hide the body, and there's this like kind of criminal element to it in this town, and really a big part of the movie is the town itself and the colorful cast of characters that inhabit the town. And that's what really did it for me at the end of the day. Like I thought that the characters in this were really strong, specifically the trio of women that essentially run the town. You have Marceline Hugo, Annette O'Toole, and June Squibb. And I thought that they were just so great in this. I love all three of them. And then you have Margot Martindale in there as the sort of villain of the town. She runs this bed and breakfast that that's also a brothel, and I just love the vibe of this whole movie. I thought all the characters were so strong, and
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about it that really works is that cast, because they are great. Everyone, the women that run this town and kind of they have an understanding with Margot Martindale's brothel, but now they think that maybe we went a bit too far, so they're kind of pushing back on it, that type of thing. And I think that works. That it's good for the time being. Like when you're watching it, it's great, but again, to me, it doesn't. There's not enough there to make it stick.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that. One of the things that I also enjoyed was the secrets that the town held. Like early on, you understand you're the whole brothel thing is revealed, but then you understand that later on you sort of learn how the brothel came to be, and that you start to realize that like these women were essentially running this whole town, and they were the ones who are basically controlling everything. And there's other things that get revealed that I don't want to spoil, but I found that to be some of the more intriguing aspects of it as you learn more. Did I mention that I didn't mention, it's not in the synopsis, that one of the big sort of the thing that kicks all of this off is that the sisters played by Sophie Lowe and Morgan Saylor, their mother dies, and that's what sort of kicks this whole thing off. She was very sick, and then they end up inheriting the house and this shop, and they realize that they're about to lose the house because their mother was pretty deep in debt. I love the town that this takes place in. For some reason, movies that take place in these like sort of small New England fishing towns, it's like an immediate plus for me. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I love
and I think
the locale.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that really makes it work, makes it a little more distinct.
Mm-hmm.
Especially throwing in the singing fishermen, just to really steep it.
Yeah, some of those scenes are some of the few scenes with actual men in them. This a predominantly female led movie.
Yeah,
which is also a little bit of a bonus too, which makes sense because all the guys are out. The men are out fishing, like they're out fishing, and while they're out fishing, all the women are basically the ones running the whole show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed Blow the Man Down. I feel like this is this is one of this year's sort of underrated films. There was really nothing that came out about this. I don't know if it got any kind of like proper release in theaters or anything, and it just like kind of silently showed up on Amazon Prime. You can watch it now for free. It's included with your Prime membership.
Which is weird because I think I just happened to, I don't know what I got on for, and I just happened to see that, and I was like, wait, I think I remember Adam really liking this. And I was, kind of reading about it, and I was like, oh, well, this sounds interesting.
Yeah. So I hope that people find it, and because I think that a lot of people are really going to enjoy this. But yeah, for some reason, it just did not get much like coverage or anything. I didn't see too many people talking about it, which is unfortunate because I think it's a really solid movie.
Yeah, it is kind of odd.
You can read my full review on the site. I have a full written review for this. I gave it an 8 out of 10. Now, after seeing it again, I will recognize that there was a festival bump in there.
Yeah.
Reevaluating it, I probably would I'd still give it a 7.5.
Okay.
What are you gonna give it out of 10?
I'm gonna say like a 6.5, 7.
All right. Again, that's available on Amazon Prime right now. Blow the Man Down. Check it out. All right, let's talk about someone we're watching on the watch list. Kevin, I think it's your turn this week.
Oh, okay. I have a short film here that's available right now for free on No Budge. I watched a number of short films on No Budge. This is the one that stuck out the most for me, the one that I enjoyed the most. That's called Key for the Kid by Thea Lorenzen. This is only like 4 or 5 minutes or so. A short film comprised of completely of still photographs, a la Chris Marker. It kind of tells a story, and it does so through phenomenal editing. I mean, the editing in this, the way they cut up the still photographs to create, like action, movement, tension, that type of thing, really works. And the way they cut that also with the score and the sound design just works very, very nicely. Great time, 4 or 5 minutes. Great time spent. And it's just this like a mother tries to find this like little key pendant type thing. It's like flashing red light. And it's kind of like a mystery as to what this thing is. And of course she finds it and people are trying to take it from her. And I mean, over, 4 or 5 minutes. Pretty phenomenal though.
All right, cool. And that's available on No Budge. So check it out on No Budge for free. I saw the platform. This is on Netflix. So you can see it on Netflix. It's directed by Galder Castello Urrutia. So the premise of this one, you have a prison. And in this prison, it's like a vertical prison. So you have 2 inmates on each level. And they're in a room that has like a sink and a toilet and beds. Very basic prison. But the thing that makes this unique is that there's a hole in the middle of the room. And there's a platform that every day the platform will lower to each level. And on the platform is all the food that they will get. So it starts off on the top platform and they all share the food. So it's this like really wonderful, extravagant spread of food. Very, very, it's like very meticulously placed. It looks very fancy, very nice. There's like caviar and all of this really, really high end, great quality food. It's on nice china. And the problem is for people on the lower levels, they get all the scraps. And so the way that it works is every 30 days, you will wake up on a different floor and you never know which floor you're going to be on. So you could be really lucky and you're on one of the top floors and you get your pick of what food you want, or you could be really unlucky and get on one on the bottom floor and you basically get nothing. And so it focuses on this one guy who actually signed up to be in there. So it seems like maybe some people were forced to be in there, or they're given choices where like you can go to prison or you can do this, and people choose to do that. But other people actually sign up to be in there. And then the main character of the film actually signs up because he's trying to quit smoking. So he just signs up for this thing, but obviously he doesn't know what he's getting into. He has no idea like what this entails, because I think when he first wakes up, he's on like one of the middle, he's like on 46 or something. So he gets some food. It's gross, but he gets it. But then later on, you find out that there are like literally hundreds of floors. So it goes to some really interesting places. I was getting some major Cube vibes from it. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really unique. And it goes to some really kind of gross places, but still very entertaining. So I would highly recommend checking out The Platform on Netflix.
I watched Kakira, A Piece of Our Life. This is directed by Momoko Ando, the director of 0.5 Millimeter, which is a movie from like 2 or 3 years ago, I think. It was actually like one of my favorite movies of the year.
Yeah, I remember you really love that.
Oh, God, I love it so much. So, tracked down her first movie, which is this. Got an import DVD from the UK. Fired it up there on my old all-region DVD player.
Do you still have the same one that we had like...
No.
Oh, I was going to say. No. I was going to say, that was that would be really impressive.
No, that guy died. And I think the one that I have now is kind of on its way, because it's loud. I forgot how loud DVD players were after I bought that guy. But so this is her first film. It's like a semi-sprawling slice of life dramedy. Not as long as 0.5 millimeter, which is like a 3.5 hour long movie. I think this one's more in the range of like an hour 45, something like that. It's about a young woman named Haru she's currently suffering in a relationship with her boyfriend. He's a very unattentive man. Doesn't appreciate her or value her in like any way whatsoever outside of sex. He just pretty much wants sex. That's it. And she ends up, she's at a cafe, and this woman comes over and just kind of starts talking to her and everything. And she kind of becomes somewhat smitten with Raiko is the girl's name. She's a prosthetics maker. She likes to help people with missing parts, which plays into the relationship that they end up building. And it's kind of Haru having difficulties leaving her boyfriend and fully committing to this relationship with Raikou, because she's not 100% sure if she's gay. So she's kind of like flip-flopping back and forth, but she does really enjoy the time that she spends with her, and they have a great relationship, and the chemistry between the two actors are fantastic. Great performances from both of them. But the problem is that Raikou ends up kind of being a bit too attentive and essentially starts smothering her. So it's like she can't get like the in between. She can't split the difference. She can't find someone that's, just pays her enough attention and not too much and not too little. And there's a nice use of like fantasy imagery that just kind of pops up out of nowhere, which works really well because it's used sparingly. So it's kind of unsuspecting and surprising. And one of the main thing that I liked about it is the way in which it just stops. It just kind of ends, which is nice. There's no closure. There's no conclusion. It just kind of like drifts off at a certain point in time. You have no idea like essentially how it ends, like how their relationship ends. It's just done.
Sounds interesting.
It's pretty good.
Doesn't look like it was ever released in the U.S.
No, it wasn't. But for some reason, the UK have a DVD.
All right. And that's A Piece of Our Life. I saw Tread, which is directed by Paul Soleil. I'm just going to read what the synopsis is on Letterboxd, because this is the best way to describe this movie. Pushed to his breaking point, a master welder in a small town at the foot of the Rocky Mountains quietly fortifies a bulldozer with 30 tons of concrete and steel and seeks to destroy those he believes have wronged him.
Yes.
And that's what that movie's about. It is literally about a guy who gets fed up with the people in his town walking all over him, or so he thinks, and buys a bulldozer, giant bulldozer, and essentially turns it into this tricked out death machine, this giant tank that's completely bulletproof and pretty much unstoppable. And he just destroys the town with it. And that's the movie. So it's true crime doc. This is available on VOD, so you can rent this on like Vudu, and I rented it on Vudu, but I think it's probably available on all the VOD platforms. Well worth a look. Really fascinating story.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it.
This is, yeah. I would highly recommend giving this a look, because it is crazy. This guy is nuts. And he's a master welder, so he knows how to do it. Like this isn't like some crappy job. Like this is a very advanced job that he does. Like he comes up with all of these scenarios and figures out like exactly how he needs to design and build this thing. And like he does things like he greases up the back of it because he knows that people are probably going to try to climb in. So he puts grease all over the back so they slip off when they try to climb on top of it and get in. And just all of these little things that he does, like he mounts cameras all over it so he can see like where he's going, because the whole thing is just encased in this like thick steel, and it's all completely bulletproof. You know, they're trying to shoot him. There's like no way, like even the screen that he has that he looks out from, it's like bulletproof, and he has like he mounts like compressed air on the outside so that when it gets like fogged up or messed up, like he presses a button and it'll clear off the like little viewfinder thing so he can see. It's insane. It is insane.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So I would recommend checking out the documentary called Tread.
Yeah, that sounds hell interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I saw Red Moon Tide. It was playing festivals. It played Berlin. This is Louis Patino directed, and it was getting really good reviews. So, but who knows now? Who knows how things work anymore? Like if it'll ever play. Like, will we have festivals again? I don't know. Will it play at other ones? I don't know. Will it be released at some point in time, like VOD? I hope so. I mean, kind of capitalizing on all the good press that it was getting, and it's a very intriguing experience. It is. There's a fisherman in this Galicia town, this like coast town, that he drowns, and ever since he drowned, they think he, was like a sea monster or something. Everyone in the town is just stopped moving. They're either sitting, standing, just completely stationary. There's no like active dialogue from these people. Like all their dialogue is presented through voiceover. So it's just a lot of stationary scenes, like a lot like landscape paintings, really, the way that they're set up. They're very painterly in their composition. And it's very beguiling the way that this all plays out. And the only people that do move is there's 3 witches that come to the town. Their job is to essentially cleanse the town. So they go around to all these scenes and just drape all the residents in these white shrouds, just cover them up. And there's a dam in the town too that, ever since the dam was put in, it's been bad things have been happening, right? So it's very experimental. It has witchcraft. It has sea monsters, curses. This dam that was put in that's ruining the town. All these things. It's pretty bizarre, but yet at the same time it's transfixing. And I mean, it is just the imagery, the cinematography in this movie is just breathtaking. It's phenomenal.
So I was just reading some of the Letterboxd reviews for this, and the one person says Frozen 2 on tranquilizers.
Yeah, I mean, I probably not, but
I don't know what that means. Like, I didn't see Frozen 2, but all right,
maybe.
This is called Red Moon Tide, so
yes,
keep a lookout, I guess, whenever this might come out. Who knows? I saw Bloodshot. This is available now on VOD. This is one of these early, pushes to VOD. It was in theaters for a little bit, and then very quick VOD turnaround after all the theaters closed down. This is directed by Dave Wilson. This movie's bad. Oh boy. Oh. There's really nothing good that I can say about Bloodshot. I pretty much hated it from start to finish. Maybe there's some cool looking design work in there, but that's really all I can say about it. I mean, Guy Pearce is in it and he was pretty cool, but everybody else was really bad. Like Vin Diesel was very bad in this. Maybe the worst I've ever seen him.
Wow.
It's I think that might partially be due to the script being so poorly written. This is a superhero movie that feels like it should have been made in the mid-90s. It's got that kind of vibe to it, like back when they were pumping out comic book movies left and right, but they weren't like Marvel or DC, and they were just kind of like the other one, like the Phantom and the Shadow and Dick Tracy and fucking Barbed Wire and Tank Girl and all of these, The Crow, the big kind of indie comic book boom that happened in the 90s. This feels like it should be, it's like a leftover from one of those. but it's not fun like a lot of those movies are. You know, a lot of those movies are kitschy and have at least some nostalgia tied to them, whereas this is just ugly and boring, and I did not enjoy a single moment of it. So yeah, I do not recommend Bloodshot at all. Also, this is a weird thing I noticed, and maybe this is, I don't know if this is actually a thing or just because it was all like edited very poorly and maybe not mixed properly. But like everybody had these English accents, and the English accents would often seem like they maybe didn't originally have an English accent, and that the person's dialogue was dubbed and they were given an English accent. It was really strange. But it was
now there's a part of me that's the only reason I want to see this movie now.
Yeah.
Like I have no interest in, and I know it's not going to be good, and I have no interest in what it's about. I'm just curious about this accent thing now.
Yeah, it's really weird.
I just want to know what that's about. What is that about? What is that?
I would say if you want to see a cool movie that has a similar plot, just watch Upgrade, because it's a very similar thing to Upgrade. Basically, Vin Diesel is the soldier who gets killed and gets brought back, and he has these like nanites, these like nanobots in his body that will repair him. So if he gets shot, the machines,
that's Upgrade.
Yeah,
that's Upgrade.
Yep. And he's also like a supercomputer, so he can like access the internet and stuff from his mind, and that's pretty much Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. How about that? That's all I have. I'm actually fine. I don't know about you, but I'm finding it slightly difficult to watch movies. Like I know I have all this time, and it's like I can watch whatever I want, but at the same time, I'm just like I don't want to. Like for whatever reason, I'm finding it very difficult to sit myself down.
Yeah,
to watch a movie.
That exact thing happened to me yesterday, where I'm like, I have all these movies that I can watch, and I ended up just watching Ozark, the new season, and yeah, we didn't talk about Tiger King on here. Have you started watching Tiger King yet?
Well, yeah, that's another thing that's made it slightly difficult, because I started Tiger King.
Yeah,
and that's Whiplash. That's a Whiplash show right there. I mean, I'm just all over the place. I don't know what the hell's going on. Some of it's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. Some of it's just the most ridiculous. Like it just starts off, the first episode is like, hey, these people have exotic animals. They're kind of fucking nuts, right? And you're like, yeah, they are. These guys are fucking crazy. And then the second episode is like, oh yeah, like they're kind of a cult too. They're cults. It's like, oh damn, they're abusing people and taking advantage of them. That's fucked up. And then, it's she killed her husband and fed him to tigers. And you're just like, what the fuck? Where else can we go? Like, how are we going so many different places?
It's wild, man. It is wild. And I was already familiar with Joe Exotic. Like, I remembered the John Oliver bit that he did when he talked about Joe Exotic. But there was also, and I can't remember what series it was, but there was a documentary series that came out a few years ago that profiled Joe Exotic, and I can't remember the series, but I remember that like that was my introduction to that guy, and I was like, hey man, this guy is nuts. It was before like the whole murder for hire thing and all of that. So,
yeah, that's the other thing that still is I'm having trouble wrapping my head around, because like I came to the realization of that last night smoking a cigarette after watching the 4th episode, and I'm like, wait, this whole thing is actually supposed to be about the murder for hire, which we haven't really gotten to yet, but which also feels like fucking nothing of an issue compared to everything else. Like, like how's that the centerpiece, given everything else that I've learned?
It just gets progressively crazier as it goes. Like it's so wild, man. All right, let's take a look at what we have coming out this week. And obviously nothing in theaters. That's still a thing that I can't seem to get over. The fact that there are no theatrical releases anymore. It's so strange. On VOD, we have Streetlight Harmonies coming out on March 31st. I believe this is a documentary on doo-wop music.
All right.
On April 1st, we have How to Fix a Drug Scandal. That's a Netflix documentary. Then on the 3rd, we have Rogue Warfare: The Hunt. I think that's actually a sequel to something. Mm-hmm. We have Slay the Dragon. That's a documentary about gerrymandering.
Okay.
We have Shooting Heroin. We have The Other Lamb. That's a horror film. We have Almost Love. I think that's a romantic comedy from the looks of it. We got Coffee and Kareem. That's on Netflix. It's a comedy with Ed Helms. It's a buddy cop comedy or something.
Ed Helms coming back. They're going to try Ed Helms again, huh?
It looks pretty bad, so I don't know.
And you remember when he was like in a decent amount of movies?
Yeah, he was
like as a leading person.
Mm-hmm. I remember he was in this movie called The Clapper, which I saw at Tribeca years ago, and it was so atrocious. It was so bad, and that was like the last time. That was like the end of it for him. Finally, we have Clover coming out. Also, that looks like some sort of action film.
What about, never mind. Wait, no, you're doing VOD.
Yeah.
Because that's all that exists nowadays. The Hitman movie. Doesn't that come out on the 3rd?
It does, yeah. So, I always forget the freaking name of it. Never,
rarely, sometimes.
Always, yeah. Never, rarely, sometimes, always. That does come out on VOD on Friday. I just don't have it on the calendar because it did actually get a theatrical release a little bit ago. But that's one that I would probably recommend, and one that we'll probably be covering next week.
Hell yeah.
On Blu-ray, the big one is they're releasing a Star Wars box set that includes all of the trilogy movies. So all 3 trilogies. 9 movies. It is a Best Buy exclusive, but it looks like a really impressive box set. I'm not going to get it, but for Star Wars fans,
not impressive enough.
I mean, it's huge. It's like a huge box set. I don't have room for that. I just don't have room for that. We also have Malabimba from 1979. That's coming out on Vinegar Syndrome. We have Hell Riders from 1984. VFW is coming out. That's the Joe Begos one that came out earlier this year. Just a couple months ago, actually, that one. I would recommend that. That's a pretty solid one. We got Hollywood Horror House from 1970. That is also on Vinegar Syndrome. We got Bones from 2001 starring Snoop Dogg. Remember that one? Bones.
Oh, Bones.
I remember our friend Josh was really into that movie, Bones.
2001 Bones.
Yeah. The Current War is coming out. That's the one with Michael Shannon and Benedict Cumberbatch. The Tesla Edison one. A little weird when that was.
Oh, God.
Avenging Angel from 1985 is coming out. That I believe is also on Vinegar Syndrome, as is Angel from 1984. So you got Angel and then Avenging Angel. Angel's the first one, and then Avenging Angel is the second one. You also have Angel 3, the final chapter from 1988 coming out. It looks like they're releasing the Ring collection again. That's an Arrow release. I don't know if these are like individual ones that they're now releasing, but the original set came out a while ago because I covered that. Standing Up, Falling Down from earlier this year is coming out. That's a comedy with Billy Crystal and what's his name? Ben Schwartz. I did not enjoy that. That's pretty much it. What about Criterion's this week?
Oh, well, we got 2. First one is Jane Whale, 1936 Showboat, Paul Robeson vehicle. Got a bunch of special features on there, new commentary, interview, new documentaries and such. So you got that. And then you got The Prince of Tides from 1991, Barbra Streisand. And in terms of special features for this guy, a lot, just too many that I'm not going to go through. I mean, it's a ridiculous list here. You have to actually scroll. I can't get all of them onto the screen at once.
Wow. Loaded.
I'm fucking loaded for this. People that love the Prince of Tides. Tom Wingo.
I don't like
Nick
that.
Nolte.
I remember I saw that when I was younger, and I really hated it.
I have no interest whatsoever. None.
All right. I think that's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. You can follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, consider giving us a review on your podcast platform of choice. For Kevin Rakestraw, my name's Adam Patterson. Stay safe. Wash your hands. We'll see you next week.